Hey guys, welcome back to Mystic Mamas. We hope you enjoyed our last episode and we're so excited to get back with you guys. And good morning. It's early for us here, so we're just
Yeah,
we're
good
just
morning.
yeah. We're going to kind of just jump into today's episode, and I do want to start off the episode by just saying a couple things to start. And one, that is, we are very, very grateful for our partners, and we are very, very lucky to have active parent partners and partners who work very hard and do a lot for us and provide, and we love them. They're great dads. And also, this is our experience with motherhood. Take and leave what resonates and what doesn't. And so we just kind of want to talk about a couple things that can be true when you are in a relationship and have a baby, and the things that come along, and kind of the unfair roles that are played between the father and the mother, and kind of how in that resentment can be kind of brought up around a lot
Yeah.
of topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to know you're gonna preference with all that, so I'm like, yeah, I resonate with that. No, but really, our partners have been so amazing, but that doesn't mean that we're not allowed to have our feelings too. So this will just be, just take what resonates, leave what doesn't, as always, right?
Yeah, no, but I did want to just start there because
No, I like that.
all things are true. Every
Yeah.
part of it's true. Multiple things can be true at once. It can be a really great partner and still have resentment towards things that happen. And there are some things in motherhood, the journey to motherhood and the journey to fatherhood are very different, and they continue to stay different. And honestly, there's not a lot that men can do in certain areas because there's just an experience that they literally and physically cannot have.
Yeah.
And with that, even if it sounds silly, and even if like, I know that my partner can't deliver the baby, he can't be the one that's pregnant, he can't do those things, but it didn't stop me from feeling resentful about that. Like, I wish he could have. Like, I had a lot during pregnancy where I was just like, man, like, I got to give my body, soul, life up immediately the second you see those two pink lines. And it's just like the man just gets to kind of carry on in a sense. And I'm not trying to invalidate the father's experience, and I'm not trying to invalidate their feelings or their hard work and all the things they do in fatherhood, but it's just impossible to have the same experience as the mom.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, any women who are listening and have gone through motherhood, like the journey from maiden to mother, I know you're going to understand, because I think along with this journey, you truly can't, I guess, get through resentment on your own. I just feel like it's a lot. It's heavy, and it does start with pregnancy. And I know as soon as I saw those two pink lines, it came up for me immediately. I knew that my life had to stop then, and Fred could continue to advance in his career and do all the things for him still. He could still push, whereas like I was having heavy depression and anxiety, whereas he was clear-minded, and I won't say fully clear-minded, right? I'm trying to give him his space too, but I know that he wasn't going through the same loops that my brain was going through, the same troubles that I was having to go through. He didn't have to go to every doctor's appointment, have to get something shoved up his freaking vagina every time. You know what I mean? He didn't have to work through everything that I worked through, and like not taking that away from him. But I'm going to stop that right there. I don't want to. This is about us. This is our journey. This is what we went through and how we feel. So I'm not going to keep going back and forth and being like, okay, but he's validated too. I'm dropping that here because I feel like we do that even with our children. Like, oh, but I love my kid, right? It's like, we know you love your kid. We know we love your partner. Let's let that go. This is just how we feel, what we've gone through. And yeah, anger and resentment has definitely shown up the moment we became pregnant.
Yeah, exactly why I started with that, because I knew if I didn't, we'd be going back and forth. But
yeah,
the facts remain, and I feel the same way, especially in pregnancy. That's where it started, right? That's where, like, I didn't notice that's what was happening in pregnancy, but like the resentment I was feeling started to build slowly, and the anger towards it all, and the fact that, like, I had so much going on. Same with you, like the anxiety, all of it. And like it seemed like my partner was just, he got over the fear initially, and it just was excitement and just work. And, and
Mhm.
he took really good care of me. But at the same time, it was just, he didn't have the morning sickness. He didn't have the excruciating back pain and have to be in bed rest. I ended up getting a car accident and lost my car. He didn't. He still had his car. He still had his job. He still got to do everything, it felt like, to me, the same. And it was like my whole world was turning upside down. And then when Oliver was born, I exclusively breastfed for like 10 days. And there's nothing that'll build some resentment like being up every hour on the hour while your partner sleeps, because they can't do anything to help anyways. And in that, I had such bad postpartum anxiety. And I think that's what, like, and still to this day, I still have a lot of postpartum anxiety, and I have OCD. So I have a lot of intrusive thoughts around it. And that brings up a lot of resentment towards my partner too, because he gets to just like really enjoy fatherhood, and he really just gets to like see things in such a positive and fun and light energy kind of thing. And like I'm full of fears and anxieties, and like I couldn't even sleep when Oliver was brought home because I was so afraid of something happening to him in his sleep that my partner would be snoring. He'd be snoring in like 5 seconds and just be
No,
out.
I agree. I feel like they get to bask in the results of like all our hard work in those moments, you know?
Yes.
It kind of really is like that. And I mean, I was right there with you too. I mean, whenever I had Harper, I was breastfeeding for the first month while she was in the NICU. And the whole time, like, not that he didn't want to see her. He wanted to see her as much as I did. He had to work, but it was just like it was constantly on my mind. And for him it was like, "Oh, well, let's just go have some lunch. Let's just like it's okay, she'll be fine." As I was like staring at the monitor the whole time because they give you like a camera that you can watch them at night. And I just remember crying my eyes out when she would be crying because I wasn't there with her yet. Fred is just like snoring on the side of me. No, literally.
No,
I'm just
for
like
real.
sitting here crying. I'm like, dude, why doesn't this affect you the same way? And I think that's just like the resentment comes not from them being so casual about it. It's coming from like, why can't I feel that too? Like, why is this so hard for me and it's easy for you? Like, I wish I could just freaking be okay with everything that's going on. But for me, it was so heavy. And I think as time went on within Harper being in the NICU, it just got even heavier. It was like I was literally crushed by the weight of my own like shit, you know? And he is
Yeah.
just like walking along like la 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 la. Don't get me wrong. I know he has his own shit too, right? But at the same time, it was just like wasn't the same things that we were thinking about. And I think another thing too was the fact that I'm just kind of realizing this now, but the fact that like his mind is busy at work, whereas mine's not. Like that was supposed to be my work, you know? Like I'm a stay-at-home mom, so like I was already supposed to be in those motions and I wasn't. So just having a NICU baby and not being able to do anything really because the nurses are taking full on hands on the baby, it's like I just felt helpless and um yeah, just kind of like I guess I felt more of a burden being there sometimes. I know it's weird to say that, but like I just felt like I wasn't doing much. I was standing around, but it was my baby. I wasn't taking care of her. And yeah, I was just like heavy around that. But of course, Fred didn't feel any of those feelings. And yeah, it made me angry.
Yeah, heavy on the being able to kind of distract yourself with work. I think that's something that I don't know if they even realize is a blessing to their life, because even now, and not like, of course, postpartum, yes, but even now that I'm in the toddler stage, like my partner gets to go to work.
Hmm.
He gets to exit the door regardless of my kid throwing a tantrum, regardless of what needs to be done, regardless of anything. And although like, yeah, that's a blessing and I'm so grateful and I get that opportunity, it's like that's a break. That's a break. That's a day where you can be in the car and listen to music or whatever, listen to whatever you want on your commute, drink your coffee, use the bathroom when you want in peace, not have a toddler saying up, up while you're literally in the middle of trying to use the bathroom. And
Literally.
to be able to just honestly kind of get a check out. in a sense.
Mhm.
And then you get to come
Mhm.
home, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's exciting. You missed your kid all day. You get to see him, you get to play, you get to do dinner time and bath time, and all of that is like more of a fun little aspect. And it's like the actual heavy duty role of parenting falls on me throughout the entire day, no matter what. And, he works so hard, but the harder he works, the more I have to do this on my own at home. And even though I was able to work through some of my initial like postpartum and pregnancy resentment, it's like I'm continuously having to work through different forms of resentment because the fatherhood role is just so different. And it's so blatantly obvious when you become a mom how like people treat moms versus dads different. I've never heard the term dad guilt in my entire life.
Literally.
But do you know how often I say the mom guilt I feel over every little decision I do, over every little thing I do? Like, I can't escape it some days and I have to work through it. It's all stuff I have to work through. Whereas I feel like he doesn't have to even second guess these things at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's even in society how much they praise, like, oh, what an amazing dad. Whenever I told people that, even when I told people that he actually helped change diapers because he's a very active parent, don't get me wrong, but I remember the first time we were at a friend's house and Oliver was like 3 months old, and the lady was so shocked that he actually did like the changing of the diapers. And she was like, oh, he actually helps you in that way. What an amazing dad. And I was like, first of all, well, he's not
As he
helping.
should.
He's not helping. He's doing his part
Yeah.
in parenthood. Excuse me. But like that's the fatherhood role in society. It's like, oh wow, he helps. No, he does his job as a father. It's not helping me. I
Mhm.
don't. I hate when people are like, oh, he helps so well, and I'm like, yes, and is not help. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
I think that can even go to say for like stuff around the house. Like when Fred gets home, he often does have to pick up some things or do his laundry or, it's a busy day for me. Like whether or not some days I, you know, am not fully doing that, I'm doing other shit. And so when he gets home and he has to do those things, I remember in the beginning it was like, oh, well, I'm helping you. And I'm like, you're not helping me. This is part of your shit. Like you have to be doing this too. If I wasn't here, you would have to be doing your laundry. You have to be doing your dishes. You would have to be cleaning, cooking, doing all of the things. Like you are doing your part. That's what it is. And, not that he really meant it that way, but, I keep having the preference that I don't know, I need to let it go. But just because, like, he's also a very active parent, very active dad. He never really complains, anything like that. And I appreciate that. But also, like Danielle was stating with the guilt, I feel like that comes up for me a lot. And I always ask him, like, how do you don't feel guilty? He's like, no, she's fine. Or no, like, it's okay. Like, it's like, I wish I could feel like that. I truly
Yeah,
do. I wish it was not something that came up for me. And it's currently something like that I know Dia and I are both working on. But man, it's just not easy. It's not easy. And if you're a mom and you're listening to this, which I feel like most of you are, then you understand that mom guilt comes up at like the worst times. Like even when I'm just doing the podcast or like, when I'm trying to better my life, I'm like, oh, but should I be with them? I feel bad. Like maybe I should be having quality time with her. Like it's like I'm with her all the time. It's okay. It's okay. Yet Fred is
yeah,
just like on his phone the whole time. I'm not trying to call him out, but he'll be on his phone the whole time. And I'm like, dude, play with her, do something, Like get down and spend some more time with her. And I don't know. Yeah, just two different mindsets and two different ways of thinking that I just will never understand.
yeah. Same over here. It's just so incredibly different, and I can't speak because we're both stay-at-home moms. But I'm sure if you're a working mom, it's very similar, and probably even worse in some areas where you still have to take on the role of work
Yeah.
and still motherhood on top of all that, and still all the same like mom versus dad differences. And I can't imagine the pressure of that as well, because like you come home from work at the same time as your man comes home, and I almost promise you there's stories where you're still the responsible one for all the motherhood duties.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there are, even in the working mom term, right? There's no working dad term. It's just dad, right? And so the guilt with, I'm sure I've seen it before where moms feel guilty about having to work and the time they miss. But I don't
Mm,
know if dads feel that way, like that. I know my partner misses my son a
yeah.
lot when he's at work. I know that he misses and wish he doesn't have to work so much, but like, I don't think it's that I feel guilty for working versus taking care of my kid situation.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and there's just so much to motherhood that I would have never really known came with all these different mental loads. It's just a mental load. The mental load of it all is so heavy. And I resent the fact that my partner doesn't carry that same load. He doesn't, I think it crosses his mind. I know it crosses his mind certain things, but when it comes to like when to start potty training, what books to read, how to gentle parent, inner healing, all these things that come with parenthood on a day to day, it's like my partner has to go to work. He has to think about work. He has to think about other things. Whereas I have to just think about this. I have to figure it out. And we partner up a lot, but at the same time, it's just so much responsibility falls on moms. And so many moms are shamed for every little decision they make. And
Yeah.
hardly anyone's shaming any dad shame out there. I don't see it. I don't see people out there unless you're like a really shit parent, a dad. Like, yeah, people will shame you for that. But like the bare minimum, the bar is on the floor. And if you're doing that, it's like, yay, what amazing dad. And it's like, moms don't get that same leniency.
Praise. Mhm.
They don't get that same praise. They don't get that same, like, it's like, well, yeah, your mom, that's your job.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and then is it not theirs too? No? Okay, cool.
No, literally.
Guess
I'm
not.
I'm going through that right now so heavily because we're transitioning Harper into her own crib. And not that she hasn't been in there the whole time. She pretty much has on and off, but we've been putting her inside of our bed every now and then, more often than not. And so we're transitioning her. On top of that, she's also turning 1, so I have to stop formula. Gotta make sure she's drinking milk. Have to make sure she's having the right nutrition. Oh, and water. Oh, and don't forget, I still do bedtime and nap times and gotta be on track of all of the times and all of the things, whereas Fred just goes to work and comes home and it's all done and he doesn't really have to worry about it. And I broke down to him actually last night about it because it's just like, it's so much weight, so much responsibility that we have to carry. And it's a lot to figure out, especially like during the whole transition period where like, I don't know, I'm stressing. And that's cuz my kid eats fairly well, so I can't even begin to think how you did, D, but like this is just so stressful for me. I'm afraid that she's not going to be eating enough, that she's not going to be getting the right nutrition, that she doesn't really like milk. So now that's going to be like, I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to still figure it out. And I'm just stressing over all of it. Whereas I don't even think these thoughts go through Fred's head. Like, it's just like, oh, it's fine. Like, we'll figure it out. And we've been doing that. And I think we have been doing that for so long because it's been the easy route for me. Like, I've just been allowing her to take naps when she wants to take naps and to go to bed when she wants to go to bed. Not obviously when she wants to, but like when we can get her to lay down. And so, like, I just think I've been doing that because of all the responsibilities I already have. And now that I'm at this point where, like, okay, I cannot be pushing this off anymore, it just seems so heavy for me because, again, I'm really trying to be on the nap time so that she can go to sleep early now. I'm also having to really be like on track with everything that I'm feeding her, which is something I already stress about because I want my kid to get the right nutrition. And it's just really heavy and yeah, Fred doesn't really think about it like I do, and it just seems like I'm carrying all of it alone, and I think that's another thing that comes with the resentment is the fact that like I feel alone in a lot of this, but not because he doesn't help, but just because that's motherhood for you. Like we're
It's very
doing
isolating.
we're doing a lot of the things that like they don't have to do all the time or worry about, and yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
and
lonely.
it is. It's so very lonely, and it's more so maybe that they might not, maybe they do think about it, right, but they just don't stress on it. They don't. It's We both also have very laid back, I feel like, very laid back partners, and so it's a
Mhm.
very much so like, it'll all be all right, we'll figure it out. And it's like, no, no, we need to figure it out. Like, not just like a, oh, what happens situation. Like, these are things that like are we
Like,
actually have to actively be a part of and like figure out and research and do, and not just like go with the flow. Like, there's things in life you can definitely go with the flow on, and parts of motherhood you probably should, but like not all of it. And it's very stressful. And Dakota knows, I can attest to the eating stress. My kid hates food. It is probably the hardest part of my parenthood journey is the food, getting my kid to eat. And my partner is also very just laid back about it. Whereas I do all of our grocery shopping. I'm constantly trying to think of different ways. I'm looking up ways to like how to fix a picky eater, how to do all these
mhm.
things. And it's not just that. It's like, because we're both stay-at-home parents, every doctor's appointment, all the questions we got
Yep.
to ask the doctors, all of that falls on our lap, and it's the heaviest mental load I've ever carried. And sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, and sometimes I don't share enough with my partner. The other day I just had to like say out loud all of the things that I was carrying on my plate, just to kind of like get them out there. And I was honestly so glad I did that exercise, because not only did it like kind of give my partner a view of everything that's going on in my mind and like the things I'm constantly swirling, but it also kind of like gave me a chance to like give myself a little more credit and like, okay, wow, you really are carrying a lot, and it's time to kind of like slow down and not like beat myself up or shame myself for feeling so overwhelmed all the time, because anyone would be with this, anyone. And right now, I did, in order kind of like, I've done it a couple times since, because it's been the like best meditation for me to kind of like work through resentment. But this Catherine Sinkina has a cutting cords meditation that honestly has been really helpful for me in this journey, and kind of like letting go of the resentment I felt. Like I said, I've
Mhm.
already had to do it a couple times because resentment keeps coming up for me, especially as a stay-at-home parent. We also have one vehicle right now that my partner takes to work, and so I am at home almost every day with our toddler alone, and it's really hard not to build that resentment in those situations, even though these are things that my partner cannot help. These are things like that he has to do for us to move forward. And these are things that I'm very happy he does and very grateful for, but it doesn't stop the resentment from kind of coming up. There are days where I see him grab his cup of coffee and exit the door, and he gets to joke with his coworkers. He gets to listen to music. He gets to do things throughout his day that like eating lunch alone in the car. Like, some days I literally dream of that because I don't get that chance. I have to wait till I have to wait till my son's down for a nap if I want to eat in peace. And even then, it's like I'm watching the monitor. If maybe he's going to wake up from his nap, maybe he's not going to fight his nap. It's all so many like so many things go into my day, and none of them are by my choice. I'm always ruled by someone else at this point in my life.
Yeah.
My break, even my breaks at the end of my breaks, right? Even like the time off at the end of the day rules by when my partner is going to be home from work. I don't make that choice. It's not an every day at 5 situation. It's not an every day at this time situation. It's like he might not even be home until I already do the bedtime routine and my son's asleep.
Yeah, or he might
And
get home and use the restroom for 20 to 30 minutes and then take a shower.
and he's able to do that because I'm there, because I am there, because there's never really a time period when my partner is parenting without me around at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I feel that 100%. I was actually just having that conversation with Fred the other day too, because it's like he won't ever really understand the full extent of it. Yeah, he's watched Harper for a couple of days, but the stage that she's in now, and I know the stage that Oliver is in now, these are like crazy stages, dude. They're all over the place. They're wanting to get in everything that you're doing. They want up all the time. They want to see it. They want to be in it. And it's just like, when can I have 5 minutes? When can I have 5 minutes to myself? Sometimes it's so like aggravating. And I think that's another thing that my resentment comes up around is definitely just like I don't get these small breaks that Fred, sorry guys, ignore my nose because I'm stuffy. I don't know what's going on with my life. But but Fred, like Danielle was stating, like he even gets to like conversate with his coworkers and just get some social time in. Whereas like the only social time I get in is if I call Danielle on the phone for a FaceTime. Like it's not a lot. And I think that's also where my mom brain comes in. I need more stimulation around that. Even though I'm doing all this
Yeah.
work, I just need to be putting it more in like an active place. But yeah, I forgot, I'm losing my train of thought here, but I want to go back to what you said about the cutting cords meditation because I just did one last night. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much a forgiveness meditation. It's all around releasing. Okay, so let me just start here. Whoever you've come in contact with, whether it's through the phone, through passing by someone at Walmart, looking at someone on TV, you are all connected. And you have these cords, if you're in the spiritual realm and this is how you think and you believe in this stuff, you're connected energetically. So these cords can either be something that siphons your energy or lightens your energy. Whether or not it does one or the other, it's good to cut them because when you cut them, it refreshes the energy for you and allows you to kind of like lift a weight off your shoulders kind of feeling. You may need to do this more than once. However, what you can do is cut cords and use a meditation. You can find any of those meditations on YouTube, I'm more than
Yeah.
sure. Um, but yeah, so you cut the cords in order to refresh and say if, like for instance, how I feel like maybe me and my partner are, it could be a dark and heavy cord just because all of the resentment and anger and all of that comes up between us. But if I'm constantly refreshing it, it'll allow these like our energies to just be in a lighter space, be in a more forgiving and open space. But also, what the importance of forgiveness is that when you have resentment, anger, and shame around it all, it blocks your manifestations. It blocks things from coming to you. It blocks, obviously, relationships. So, yeah, it's just really good to cut cords, as Danielle was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was saying, when I've done them, like I've had most of the ones I've been doing have been surrounded by cutting cords with my past self, the forgiving my past self, forgiving my pregnant self, forgiving Daniel.
Hmm.
Even though, like, and you can forgive people even if they did nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. He's just a man. Uh,
Yeah.
he can't. I gotta forgive him for that too. And and but that's the thing is like you can still hold. I've still held resentment for stuff that he cannot even choose to fix. There were times I know when I was in the middle of labor, he told me he wished and he's the type of man who would have taken some of that pain. He would have done it for me if he could, but he
Yeah.
can't. And it's more of just like cut cords with the patriarchy because that's what's really happening here. And that's, we're all victims of it, even men. Um, I know that even in different cultures and stuff, they have to grow out of that. What they've been learning too is that the woman's role, gender roles are ingrained in them as much as they are ingrained in us. And so it takes a lot of forgiveness and definitely cutting cords has probably been, and that's probably been the most powerful for me in this. Even I've journaled it out. I have done shook it out, shaking. I have done a lot of like self reflection on why I feel so resentful of things, and really done my best to work through these in healthy ways. Because again, some of these things I feel resentful of aren't his fault, and
Fault.
they aren't
Mhm.
his doing. They're just the way society is set up, and in order to not let that ball up and grow into something that's ugly, I've had to work through it. And again, it's still the same. Yes, she talked about the stages we're in. Oliver turned 18 months, and it's like I live with the Tasmanian devil right now. And I cannot tell you. I have worked some crazy job. I worked at Dave and Buster's for a long time, which is an extremely overstimulating job, but nothing feels as overstimulating as being at home with an 18-month-old day in and day out whose future has to be in drumming. I don't know what it is, but everything's a drum. Anything he can clack together, anything that resembles a stick is a drumstick, and we are banging on anything. He's got this thing about the vents right now, where the AC filter is.
Mhm.
He runs a stick up and down it like I could lose my mind. And that's another thing. I get resentful because Daniel doesn't have to deal with the constant like screaming and banging and noise and every little sound that this child makes, and the crawling all over me. And it's like, I love my kid so much, and this stage is so fun. And it is absolutely batshit crazy. And I know it's just beginning. I don't want any other toddler mom to come at me and be like, just wait. I know this. We're just up the mountain right here, and we got a long way to go. But man, it's already really fucking hard. And I know that where Dakota's at is really hard too. She's 6 months younger than Oliver, but still, that's an even harder stage because at least Oliver communicates a little bit more. When Oliver wasn't, and he was around a year old, I know it's a lot of tantrums. I know it's a lot of
Mhm.
whining. I know it's a lot of whining for nothing. I mean, yes, I know all babies need something. It's a communication thing, but like essentially they're just very whiny. And there is nothing more like irritating than hearing a child whine all day while you're trying to also do other things, while you're trying to fix it, while you're trying to make sure they're happy. And it's still like nonstop. And so it builds every day. And so every day I feel like I should be cutting cords at this point because every day there's something that I'm just like, man, and I know things will change when we have more space and more help. And right now it's just all on me and Daniel. We don't have outside help. And so it's very, very much an all immersed situation and experience. And I'm honestly really grateful for the work we've been doing because I don't know where our relationship would be if I didn't like understand that, like, okay, yes, this is hard. And yes, I resent him for these things, but also it's not always his fault. And it's not something that can be changed. It's something I just have to work through and reflect on and forgive not only him, but myself in this journey too, because every day, some days, I'm not the version of myself I know I can be in motherhood. And I resent myself for that sometimes. And so it's just
Mm.
a whole lot of emotional and mental sides of parenthood that I never would have even knew, like, thought could be a part of it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just like resonating with everything that you're saying. But 100%, dude. And I feel like just going off of what you said, when it comes to us feeling like these stages are the hardest, but also this has been my favorite stage. So it's like just this constant of duality in motherhood. So I feel like the forgiveness meditations and forgiveness like sayings that you can say, because forgiveness and gratitude go hand in hand. Forgiveness is something that clears your magnet that you have within you, like your energetic field, and gratitude is something that magnifies it. So if you want to release and let go, you forgive. If you want to call in something, you I guess you say gratitude. I don't know how to say that correctly, but you say gratitude. And another thing that Catherine says is that because it's not only resentment and anger, but shame goes in this category too.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like shame and guilt are very similar. They are different. Shame is more of self, and I think guilt is more of like what you're doing. But when it comes to shame, that's when you're trying to seek justice from yourself. And when it comes to resentment, anger, it means you want to receive justice from others. And so yeah, it's just important to continuously do a forgiveness meditation. And like Danielle, I've been kind of cutting cords, and it doesn't have to just be with your partners, okay? I've been cutting cords with past friendships because I hold resentment around that too. Whereas some of the people that I thought would show up for me in my life are now not. And I think that hurts the most because I was so connected to a lot of these people just not even that long ago. And now it's like the moment I got pregnant and had a kid, they stopped showing up for me, which I get it. Everyone has their own lives, and it means nothing about them or myself. But the thing is like, that doesn't mean I'm not going to hold resentment around it because expectations. And I'm the type of friend who would be there for you, even doesn't matter what you're going through. But that doesn't mean that other people are like that too. And so I've had to really release and let go of these expectations, resentment, anger, shame around all of it. And one thing that I've constantly done is Honopono. I think that's how you say it. So it pretty much means to make right twice. It's a Hawaiian um, origin, it came from the Hawaiian origin, and it's something that they say, and it originally started from them, right? Something that they say in forgiveness. It's really to forgive yourself, to forgive your family, to forgive people around you. But this is what you say. It's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I've said that one a lot, and especially whenever, again, this can go for a lot of things, but um I've said this a lot with my own mother because I feel like I hold a lot of, again, expectation and resentment around her. And also, when you're saying, there's been a study that I don't know the names, I don't know, but you could look this up. But this man used Ho'oponopono on these people that were inside a mental facility. And anyway, he used it without them knowing. And he would say it to them like under his breath and anytime he would pass by them. But I think he was also just staring at pictures at each and every one of them. And eventually that whole mental facility had to close down because there was no patients left. So he pretty much lifted this like heaviness, like of an energetic field around all of these people. And they were able to release and let go and be better selves. And I think that like that says a lot, and that's like a true story. You can go look it up. It's scientifically facts and all that given to you. But what I'm trying to say is this shit works. And I will say that I feel like this definitely works because there was a moment where, getting off topic here, but it's gonna come around, I promise. My mom, we thought she had the Parkinson's. And the whole time I was saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And I kept repeating that to myself under my breath, never to her, but it was just like I would stare at pictures, I would think of her and visualize her, and I just kept saying it. And anyway, her results came back and she did not have Parkinson's. I'm not saying I did all that, but I am saying that not only did it, oh no, Harper's awake. Not only, sorry guys, give me a second. Not only do I feel like maybe I helped that situation in some sense, but I feel like it helped me. Whether or not it helped my mom, it helped me internally. And I feel like if I wasn't constantly saying that, I was going to be constantly worrying about whether or not she had Parkinson's, whether or not like we would have to go down the rabbit hole of all the things that brings.
Yeah.
And so it was just very much a clearing for myself too. And I think that that resentment that I had around her really was gone after I kept repeating it over and over. Just feel like it fully changed our relationship as well. Don't get me wrong, some things still come up, but yeah, it's just something that forgiveness is a practice. Just like with any of the rest of the stuff, it's a practice. It's things that you continuously do. It's never going to be a one-time thing and you're clear of everything and all things.
Yeah.
These things are practices. So just continue to work on it. It can be the cutting cords meditation, and even the I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. That is also in the cutting cords meditation, at least the one that Catherine has and the one that I did last night. I don't know if they're all like that, but that is something that you can quickly say and that I feel like is just so powerful. But yeah, D.
Yeah, no, a lot of these things, it's it's more so like they might not be miracle workers for everyone around you. They might not be something that just like heals every relationship, heals all your resentment, but what it does is it changes you. It helps you move through things in a more lighthearted and loving energy, and it helps
Mm-hmm.
you forgive yourself and others along the way. And forgiveness is for you, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what someone's done. And I'm not trying to, there's deep traumas out there that I'm not trying to invalidate, but no matter what you've been through, when you forgive someone for it or you forgive yourself for it, it's for you. You're not you're not saying whatever they did was okay or whatever they're doing is okay, or if they are a shit parent or partner, you're not saying it's okay. It's allowing yourself to move through it and releasing yourself, cutting the cords from yourself and not drinking the poison yourself so that you can be free of it, so that you can move on in a healthy way. And it helps a lot. Like, and especially if you are, in a situation like us where you are in a healthy relationship, but motherhood has brought on a lot of resentment and a lot of like hard feelings because there is a difference in the mom dad role that is just like not avoidable
Yeah.
because It just is. A man will never understand the same things in parenthood that a mom has to go through. They just can't. Physically, they cannot. They never will. But at the same time, we can forgive them for that. Even though that sounds silly, it's something that it helps you move through it. It doesn't mean they did anything wrong. It doesn't even mean any part of that. It just means that you move through it in a healthy way, and it helps you out more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And learning about forgiveness really sets you free and allows you to kind of have a clearer like magnet, like Dakota was saying, and lets you really just like bring in love and gratitude energy in a healthy way, and not so like harsh, negative, and low vibe energy that
Mm-hmm.
holding on to grudges and holding on to resentment, shame, and guilt carries. Because I know that both Dakota and I have known in our darker moments that shame and that guilt and that resentment carries a lot of dark energy, and it makes it so heavy. It makes everything you do heavy. And when you're able to like forgive and work through it and love through it, it actually really does make the weight comes off your shoulders, and it feels so much more light. And yeah, just really grateful for that, because Lord knows if I didn't have it during this time period, I don't know where I would be mentally, because it's tough. I think motherhood and being a stay-at-home mom without a village, which is something Dakota and I both pretty much experience, is one of the hardest and loneliest and most isolating things. And without these kind of practices, it can make it pretty dark, and it can make it feel very, very, very heavy. And again, if you're in that situation, I see you, I feel you, and I love you. And I hope that you can find some success in this and some help and some healing in practices like this, because it's a one day at a time situation. And it's really just finding what works for you in that and what really helps you feel better. And maybe the cutting cord ceremony is something that would really help you. And maybe it's just doing the Ho'oponopono. Hope I'm saying that right. Please don't come for me. But
Same.
but I've heard it said many times. Okay, I lived in Hawaii for a little bit. But that language is so beautiful, but I've never been good with it. All right, ever. So I definitely think that giving them a try, even if you're like, wow, that's super woo woo, I don't know about that. Give it a try. Try it a couple times, and you'd be really surprised, because the first time went through the meditation, I was like, okay, this is like up there on the woo woo for me. And I released so much from that first meditation that I ever did this on, and I cried, and it was emotional, and I didn't realize how much like energy I was carrying in that. And so
Yeah.
I just 10 out of 10 would recommend. And yeah, and if you are going through some resentment in pregnancy or in birth or in postpartum, I highly encourage you to like get really, really honest with yourself and get really, really self-reflective, and do your best to like work through that in a healthy way, because it's not productive energy for a partnership.
Yeah. I would say, going back to what you said, forgiveness is for the self. I mean, that's spot on. It's like when you don't forgive, you're drinking the poison yourself. So you're holding all this resentment and anger, but it's only really harming you. And like resentment and anger and shame don't just show up in our minds. They actually show up physically too. You can look it up. But I know it's like anxiety, depression, a whole bunch of other ones. Okay. I just went down that list the other day, but you can look them up. So they like really are poison for your body. It's so important to forgive. And again, it is for yourself. And at the same time, kind of like what Danielle was saying, like if someone's doing you wrong currently, you can still forgive them and seek justice at the same time. Both truths
Yes.
can be held. And I'm not saying what anything that they did was right or wrong, anything like that. But here's the question: is it more important for me to be right, or is it more important for me to be free?
Mm, love that question.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
deep.
it
And
is.
honestly, we cannot change, like, we can't change the past. Like what's done is done, but what we can do is change the meaning of our past, let go and forgive, and also bring in that gratitude, right? Bring in the gratitude for what you have currently. Maybe it is forgiving. Like, I am so grateful for forgiving. I am so grateful that I am such a forgiving person. Whatever it is for you, bring in that gratitude too, because you do want to magnify whatever you want to call in. So you're going to release and then call it
Yep.
in. Um, and yeah, I definitely just feel like the more I do forgiveness meditations, the lighter and airier I feel around everything. And maybe you don't even know who you could be holding resentment around, but try the meditation anyway. Someone may come up for you that you're just like, whoa, who even is this? Or like, what was I even like? Where's my brain going with this? But there's been times where I've had people come up that I haven't even thought about in years. And I'm like, wow, I've been holding on to so much here and I never even knew. And last night I let go of that resentment that I was holding lately with Fred. And it's so simple. And I know it's just a meditation. And again, if you feel like this might be woo woo, too woo woo for you, like just give it a try because you never know unless you try.
Yeah.
And maybe you're like, no, I do all these other things, like this is good. Like, I promise, just put yourself out there. I know sometimes things are scary. Sometimes when I'm doing new meditations, I feel this like anxiousness in my body and I never know why. But then it's like after the meditation, when I just like feel into those feelings, I realize that like they were feelings that needed to be felt and that I needed to accept. And I want to go also into this is the first step of forgiveness is acceptance. Acceptance in what has happened, acceptance in yourself, acceptance in others. And that's why the first part of the Ho'oponopono is I'm sorry. Because it's like, I accept what is happening, I accept what is. Please forgive me. Obviously, you've done wrong, I've done wrong. Like, let's forgive each other. Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for moving forward. Thank you for my life. And then I love you, obviously. Love heals all. Love is like the universal language. We are all connected with love. And so it's just really freeing. And I hope you guys give this a try because I feel like it's done wonders for D and I. And I would just love to see a heavy weight and cord that has been siphoning you lifted from your energy.
Yeah, and also none of this is I want to validate everyone's experience, especially moms and especially the resentment. Like just as our partner's fatherhood experience is valid, our experience and our feelings and everything we've gone through in this is so valid. And if you're in the middle of postpartum, if you're in the thick of it and you're feeling all that resentment, like that's valid. It's all valid, and it deserves to be worked through in a healthy way so that everyone can benefit, especially you though, because it really does help. And I think that is pretty much where we want to kind of end this episode. I know we kind of covered a lot of bases, and yeah, is there any like we do want to leave you guys with a affirmation like we've been doing. And today's affirmation, Dakota, you want to sign off with it?
Yeah, sorry.
You're
Oh my
okay.
God. Okay, first off, I think the audio might be a little out of whack, so I apologize for that, guys. My computer, I gotta fix my mic or something, but my cord fell out and now I think you're on my Mac. But my headphones, if you're watching, I'm plugged into my computer and I don't know how, but sometimes Fred's stuff will pop up on here and freaking this loud ass song just came on and I don't even know what you said. I was like, how do I turn this off? Where's it coming from? But
No.
that's where my head's been for the past 2 minutes.
All
But
right.
yes, I will sign off with it. So there's a few of them, but the one that we decided on, which again you can change them around, do what's right for you, do what feels right. But I let go of resentment and choose forgiveness. I also really like something very simple as I forgive myself. I feel like that's so simple. But like
It
sometimes I just
is.
be angry at myself for no reason and just being like, put hand over heart, like deep breath, I forgive myself. Like honestly, it does wonders. Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. And I think that's what's coming up for me a lot lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that if it resonated with you, you do step into maybe doing a cord cutting meditation or using the Ho'oponopono. But yeah, anything else you want to add, Dee?
Yeah. that, but also if you, of course, as always, we are open books. If you have any questions, if you feel like you need to talk to somebody about this because you don't feel comfortable talking to anybody else, or resentment with your partner is a heavy topic, and sometimes we don't feel comfortable even admitting some of these things. Just know we're always here for you. Know that your feelings are valid, and we'll always validate them because they are. And yeah, we just really hope you enjoyed this episode, and we love you guys, and we see you, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.